In this video, I'm going to tell you how to make the best coffee in the world. You are going to be able to make the most magnificent cup of coffee in all of reality. It will be the best coffee that ever existed or will ever exist. And I'm going to tell you why, because there is a secret to it that not a lot of people understand, and it has to do with the four constituents of coffee, which are sugars, caffeine, tannins, and lipids, and fatty acids, which are similar. So sugar and caffeine, both things that we like, right? That's why we drink coffee. Sugars just taste good, and caffeine gives you the pseudo-fake bullshit energy that we are all addicted to and is still completely legal, and let's hope that it stays that way forever. Those two are easily and readily dissolvable, soluble in water, in cold water, in hot water, whatever. They just dissolve in water very easily. The other two are tannins and lipids and fatty acids. So tannins have a spectrum of compounds, and those have a spectrum of solubilities in water. So in cold water, some tannins don't dissolve well, and in hot water, a lot of tannins will dissolve well. But tannins are the flavor in red wine and bitter apples and unripened apple that kind of coats your mouth and makes it like dry and papery. It's not a desirable flavor, but it adds some complexity. So a little bit of tannins go a long way, and they can help add character to something that would otherwise feel flat or bland or light. And then we have lipids and fatty acids, which are completely disgusting. They're putrid, they're pungent, extremely bitter. If I gave you a quarter teaspoon, just a drop of the oils that come out of a coffee bean, you would want to vomit and kill me or yourself. Somebody, your visceral reaction would be to kill, because these are so disgusting. And they would stick in your mouth, and they would stay in your tongue, and you would have that taste there forever, and you would never get rid of it, and it would ruin your life. And so that is a flavor you don't want in your coffee. And lipids, they don't dissolve in water, and guess what? They don't dissolve in cold water at all. They really don't want to be in cold water, but in hot water, they could. They could dissolve. You could get some of that disgusting, vile, putrid, evil flavor in your coffee if you extract your coffee with hot water. So why would you do that when you can extract it with cold water? And in cold water, remember, you get the sugars, you'll get the caffeine, and you'll get a little bit of the characteristic of the tannins and other flavors that come along with flavanols and so forth. Those are giving you body. So that is why this will be the best coffee that you ever drink in your entire life. And it is also why anybody in the world who tells you that hot water extraction is good coffee is a fucking liar. And I bet they like IPAs, and I bet they like to hurt themselves, and I bet they hate their family. So remember that when you're making this really delicious cup of coffee. You can see this is a very dark roast. I'm using Kicking Horse or Kick-Ass coffee. You can find it on Amazon in large and small bags. And the second portion is grinding the coffee. And there is nothing to this. You just grind it as small as you possibly can. Larger grinding, larger grind sizes is only relevant for hot extracts, and we're not hot extracting because that is dumb. Okay, ground coffee. Smells delicious. It's completely fine. There's nothing magical about grinding coffee. Looks great. So here is where a little bit of technique comes in. So we're gonna add this to our French press. And then we're simply going to add cold water. As you can see, coffee grounds are floating, but coffee grounds are actually not, they're actually more dense than water. So once these get completely soaked, see if we can zoom in there. Once these get completely soaked, these are going to drop to the bottom. And that's when you know that it is complete. This part is important. When the coffee grounds are floating, that means that there are air pockets inside, because if they sink, all of the water has saturated the bean, the coffee grounds, and they will sink because the actual bean is more dense than the water. So when they're floating, it means that they have not yet extracted and saturated all of the bean. But once they drop, that means they have. When you use hot water to extract, it is very quick. You're just pour over hot coffee extraction. It's actually the worst thing you can do, because what happens is all the oils collect on the surface of the beans, and then what happens when you have hot water? It extracts oils. It extracts the oils more than cold water. So you end up with more bitterness. So the hotter the water is, if it's boiling water, you get even more of the bitter oils and lipids. These are not the things you want. So I will keep agitating this. And as you can see, there's still clumps of, you can see in the middle, there's still clumps of coffee grounds, but you can see the bubbles are forming. And until this is done, and until all of this sinks to the bottom, we're not done. There's actually almost nothing left. So all of it has gone to the bottom. And what's left is just pieces that have not been ground finely enough. And if I was making the perfect cup of coffee, I would have just added a little less coffee to the grind. So you might be saying to yourself, that agitation, that's gonna take some time. I can't do that in the morning when I'm going to work. Why would I do this? Just to extract a little bit more flavor, I might as well just do a pour over. And that's okay. If you want to be a bad human being and insult yourself and others, you can do that. That is okay. Now with that said, you can also do this method by leaving it in the fridge overnight. So you do this process, you shake it a little bit after you've added it to your French press, you put it in the fridge. In the morning, you shake it a little bit to take it out of the fridge, and within 30 seconds, all of it will drop to the bottom, and it will be completely saturated, and it will be done. So in the morning, if you plan in the prior evening to have your coffee, it will be complete within a minute or two of you waking up. Because the French press that I use does not always filter perfectly, as you can see. I am going to still pass over the French press into a paper filter. And you can immediately see that even though I use the French press, you still have a lot of coffee ground material left over that can get filtered out. You don't want to be drinking that because, remember, that stuff still has the oils in it. That disgusting flavor constituent that so many people subject themselves to. And it's not required. You don't do this to yourself. You can see a better future for you, your coffee, your family, your friends, your future family. All you need to do is use cold water. So here it is. The best cup of coffee that has ever been made on this planet. Cheers.